nearing the end of a golden age of TTRPGs? You may have seen a post going around lately. I saw it on Reddit by Ben Riggs, and it's about how we are in a decline from a golden age of TTRPGs. It's very doom and gloom, and I really want to break it down. I'm not interested in refuting any of the facts. I'm interested in talking about his conclusions and whether or not I think they're going to bear out. So most of us are already familiar with the scandal that happened last year when Wizards of the Coast tried to revoke the OGL or Open Gaming License for D&D. The Open Gaming License had allowed other publishers to use some of D&D's copyrighted materials in order to produce supplements for D&D. And I think one of Ben's first mistakes is treating this as if it's some sort of benevolence on the part of Wizards of the Coast. The OGL was never designed to help small creators. When smaller creators create products that match up, that work for D&D 5e, that helps build Wizards of the Coast's brand. And I'm not saying here that if you buy third-party products like from Kobold Press or something that you're supporting Wizards of the Coast. It's a little bit more complex than that. What I am saying is that these third-party products helped Wizards of the Coast maintain their dominance over the TTRPG industry. And of course, there are a lot of other things that helped D&D maintain its dominance. And a huge part of that is just being a mega corporation, being backed by Hasbro, a huge corporation, and having those resources at hand, having the economy of scale that lets it be profitable. Publishing isn't super profitable, especially nowadays when all of these costs are going up. So having this economy of scale and having market dominance leads to profitability. And what Ben mentions in his post is that it's hard for smaller publishers, for publishers of indie games, for example, to make money on their products. But that isn't because there's competition from other indie publishers. The people I know, at least, and this is anecdotal, whatever, the people I know that play indie games or games other than D&D play a lot of different ones. They're curious people. They're interested in trying new things. Bringing somebody out of D&D, or at least expanding their horizons and having them play other games, I think actually helps other indie publishers. But are they profitable? And yeah, I think you have a point that they're not that profitable, that it's hard to make a living doing that. But that's not because of competition. That's, well, at least not from other indie publishers. That's because D&D dominates the space. And so when we talk about this golden age of TTRPGs being because a lot of people are playing D&D, is that what we want? He mentions the departure of Critical Role from D&D and the departure of Matt Colville from D&D, and it's very much, what's going to happen without the Matts? And I respect for both of them. I especially love Matt Colville, but they have a right to change their creative output. And we also should be looking further than a couple of white guys named Matt as to leadership in the industry. There should be space for more creators. So he says that when Critical Role departs from D&D, it loses kind of the TTRPG brand recognition. You can tell your grandma that they're playing D&D and she'll understand that, but she won't understand if you say, oh, it's a bunch of voice actors playing Apocalypse World. Is your grandma a target market? Are we chasing your grandma as a source of revenue for TTRPGs? How do people find TTRPGs? I know a lot of people got into Critical Role, but also a lot of people just start playing because they have friends who play. So the conjecture that Critical Role leaving the D&D sphere is going to destroy TTRPG community in general, it seems like a pretty big leap to me. He's also saying how this will lead to firings of talented people who have the ability and the power to change things in the TTRPG sphere. I mean, we've had a lot of powerful people who haven't changed anything. So, I mean, I don't know. I think we're counting a lot on some people who have power instead of looking to a larger community. But also, Wizards of the Coast fired a lot of talented people very recently. And it wasn't because they were hurting. Wizards of the Coast was the most profitable part of Hasbro, and Hasbro fired people because they wanted to be more profitable. And that's not going to change. They're a corporation. Corporations under capitalism will do whatever they can to make themselves more profitable. So I don't think we should be expecting corporations to treat people better just because we're buying their products. And I think the weirdest conclusion that he comes to is that TTRPGs will become less exciting or less creative if D&D loses its primacy in the TTRPG community. Why? Why? We're seeing an explosion of people finding other TTRPGs to play. And like I said, the people I know that play TTRPGs besides D&D are broadening their horizons to more than just one game. They're not settling on one game and not playing other games. They're trying a lot of different things. People who play a lot of different games are better players, better game masters, and better game designers. There have been so many amazing games that have come out recently. It's hard to even keep up with it. There are so many games I want to try, and they are beautifully done and interesting, exciting, and new, and bringing new things to the table, and I love that. So to me, D&D losing its dominance in the industry and the community is a good thing. We should be aiming for that. We should be making room for creators that haven't had space in the industry and the community because of D&D. So maybe we are nearing the end of a golden age of D&D. And maybe that's a good thing.